Hello and welcome to Business 7. In tonight's program, we're going to look at several topical issues in the Namibian economy currently, and that in light of the recently tabled national budget. As always, we also bring you some interesting developments in Africa as far as economic and business news is concerned. We'll be right back.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Before we talk about homegrown issues, let's first take a look at some news highlights on the African continent over the past week. As always, this report by Reuters.
Here's what's been making the business headlines in sub-Saharan Africa this week. Zambia said on Monday that it had reached an agreement with a group of private creditors on restructuring $3 billion of its international bonds. That's a major step in bringing the country closer to emerging from its long-delayed debt rework after it defaulted more than 3 years ago. Kenya Airways swung to an operating profit last year of 10.53 billion shillings, or a little over $80 million, it said on Tuesday, its first since 2017. That's off the back of a 53% increase in revenue, buoyed by a 35% increase in passenger numbers. The carrier, one of Africa's 3 biggest, slid into insolvency in 2018 after an expansion drive left it hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. Nigeria is seeking an international arrest warrant after Binance's regional manager for Africa fled custody last week, officials said on Monday. Nigeria has also filed tax evasion charges against the cryptocurrency platform. Binance said it was aware that Nadeem Anjarwalla was no longer in Nigerian custody and was working with authorities to resolve the issue. The Commercial Bank of Ethiopia has said it has recovered more than 3/4 of the $14 million it lost when a software glitch earlier this month allowed customers to withdraw more funds than they held in their accounts. The bank's president said university students were largely responsible for what he called theft, and said the names of more than 500 people who are yet to return the money had been published. And finally, a representative of second-hand clothes sellers in Kenya has warned against a proposal by France, Denmark and Sweden to restrict used clothing imports from the European Union. The EU says clothes exported into developing countries that cannot be resold often end up in dumps. However, Teresia Wairimu Njenga, chair of the Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya, said used clothes support livelihoods in an industry that employs 2 million Kenyans and generates tax revenues for the country.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
Market Watch, your daily financial news insert of Namibia Media Holdings, in collaboration with NMH and Standard Bank Namibia, as well as the NCCI, recently hosted a post-budget discussion in Windhoek. It was attended by some captains of industry and a very interesting panel of experts discussing various issues around the budget. We've compiled a highlights package for you from the event. Stay tuned, it's coming right up.
My name is Stefan Igo. I'll just ask my question as a Namibian. So I spoke to some of my friends in the banking industry, and they're very excited about the US dollars that are coming into the country for oil and gas exploration. So I would like to ask Tatishimi, do you believe as a country we are ready for the growth that's coming and to make sure that the benefit of oil and gas exploration will trickle down to the Namibians that need it?
Very good. Thank you. Well, Stefan, are we ready for this new industry? I believe we're not ready as a country, and I think we must look at it from different perspectives. One, for us to be able to reap the benefits, the full benefits of this new industry, the oil industry, we must have the skilled human resources that are going to work in those industries. So we probably have some. This is an industry that was not here before, and therefore we don't really have many of them with that experience. So we need to develop them. So those that are in the oil sector, they need to really to retool and sharpen their tools so that they can take advantage of this. But more importantly, our higher learning institution must also start to focus on the kind of skills that are required in these industries so that we can develop these human resources. And some of them will probably graduate and become, business owners on their own to supply services to the oil industry. So skills development, I think, becomes very, very, very critical. But also at the level of businesses, I think as Namibian businesses, we need to start thinking about what service can I supply to this industry. Last time I was checking the statistics in the oil sector as a whole. The people, probably about 60–70% of the people who are employed in the oil industry are not employed by oil companies. They are not at the rigs, producing oil. No, they are employed by service providers. So the question to businesses and NCCI is what sort of services does this industry need? And how do we supply these services to this industry? I think that's a question that our business need to answer so that we can start to ready ourselves for this new sector. And of course, from our side, as government, how do we ensure that we harvest the necessary tax resources that we need to harvest so that we can also, redistribute those benefits that all Namibians are supposed to benefit from. So we're looking at our tax law to see whether it's competitive enough. It's a law that came into being in the early 90s.
Thank you,
so
sir.
it needs to be refreshed.
Evening, everyone. Tim Stula from Standard Bank. So I think this question is more to Salomo and Menangola around FDI.
Kindly limit it to one panelist, please.
Okay, let me give it to Salomo. So it's actually a very easy question. I want to ask around what is FDI? Because we've seen, I think in the past in the past 3 years, FDI's contribution of oil and gas sector has went up from about less than 1% to 15% in 2023. But what I wanted to ask is that we've seen that most of these payments and flow of funds are settled offshore. So could it be that our FDI number is actually understated?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think FDI in its very nature is a very complex exercise, and as more so in the mining sector, which essentially is the oil and gas. Remember, there was a time that there was exploration activity by a company called HRT, right? They found non-commercial oil. But in our books as a country, it was recorded as FDI, right? Because of the activity that took place there. This goes to the point of both the budget statement and what Mr. Mugunda alluded to when he said that it's a capital-intensive sector to the extent that it doesn't necessarily have the transformative nature of, say, a job, immediate value add to the economy. However, that can be created. It can be created through policy imperative. So whether I wouldn't want to dwell or to delve into whether it's over and understated. I think the guys from transfer pricing, who are much smarter in making sure that the settlements accrue to the correct country, will speak to that. But the nature of the FDI is that if you've got policy certainty around what is it that Namibians stand to benefit within the local content in relation to the oil and gas, the issues around settlement, the issues around what must be settled here, the issues around which sector is solely for Namibians, for local content, the policy will be able to define that. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that our policies are defined to the extent that even in countries where there's war, people know there's war. When they go into a country where there's war, they know that they have to shoot to get whatever minerals. So if you don't want to shoot, you don't go into that country. So the point I'm making is that if the local content is getting 30% of this, the policy must be that clear so that there's no gray areas. And through that, the issues are around how does FDI accrue to the country will be settled through that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yambomwine Nehemia, here on behalf of Namibia Asset Management. And my question is directed to our Honorable Minister, Tateshimi. Remarks were made during the panel discussion that people paying tax have something to be excited about from the budget speech. So this implies that people not paying tax don't have much to be excited about. And I would say that majority of our unemployed youth fall into this category. Considering that we have a youth unemployment rate of almost 50%, what do my fellow young people have to look forward to from this budget speech, in addition to the internship program? What else is there for them?
There was a question of you on youth. I think, when I said the investment in human capital, that is investment in youth. But more specifically, there are specific youth programs that are being funded. Apart from the internship, we are funding the youth credit scheme. We are funding the equipment aid scheme. We are funding the charcoal project. We are increasing the intake in the National Youth Services. All those are programs that are being funded. So that's why when you look at the Ministry of Youth budget, it has actually increased by about 47 or 45%, simply because we believe that yes, we need to support the youth. They are not having an easy time, so we need to try and help them to try and find a soft landing in life. So if you read the budget statement, I think there are specific information about what youth programs are we funding, but in the main, those are some of the ones that are being supported to try and create opportunities for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Sean Larner, from Nedbank, and this question is addressed to the Honourable Minister Shimi. As an economist by training, I presume you're not doing the 4-week test that we are doing now, working 6 days a week. I just want to know, when you lay awake at night, what do you think about, what are you concerned, and your future view for Namibia? We are very excited. Thank you.
In terms of my colleague from Nedbank, I'm glad to hear the optimism, and I think only people who are optimistic but who are also working hard can really contribute transformation. So I share in your optimism. What keeps us awake at night, the fact that we need to transform the economy so that we can employ more people in the economy. And again, we can only do that when you change the structure of the economy. So and to change the structure of the economy, we must look at different sectors. Not only agriculture, there are opportunities there. Not only in the film industry that Menangula is talking about. There are also opportunities in the green economy. And I think Namibia is well positioned to exploit opportunities in the green industrialization. When we hear about the green hydrogen, in fact we have stopped talking about green hydrogen. We're talking about green industrialization. So it comes with assembling of things like solar panel, you know, critical raw materials that is needed to produce batteries. It's a whole value chain that we as Namibians, I think we are well positioned to exploit this. So I think we also need to start to change our mindset to realize that the future is becoming green. And those who are going to support the green transformation we will create opportunities and we will also exploit those opportunities in the green space. I think that's something that we need to be aware of.
Thank you. Mr. Tope, as we're starting to wrap up our conversation in the interest of the precious resource of time that unfortunately is finite, there are some economists, particularly those seized with research, follow my eyes, don't look now, who have expressed concern that yes, confidentiality is a matter that needs to be maintained, but who want to see, especially if we're serious about guarding against tax evasion, that more transparency is required around corporate tax contributions. And I think it's also a matter that Mr. Mungunda addressed indirectly earlier. Are we seeing that the sectors driving the economy are also the biggest contributors towards corporate tax revenue? Those sectors that we say are the ones driving this economy of ours, can we honestly say that they are also the biggest contributors to corporate tax revenue?
Thanks, Denver. Here's one thing about various sectors of the economy. First thing, see your tax policy, your strong tax policy fortifies the tax administration. Now, in this budget speech, we've just learned that there will be an amendment in terms of assessed losses. Now, you could have industries that are doing extremely well, but because they were ramping up their operations, they incurred losses and they continue to carry forward those losses. Their revenue does not then translate into tax revenue. So that's one possibility. But of course, when you talk about industries, you don't hide behind confidentiality. Why? Because you're talking about a sector in general. You have sectors that are well organized. The Mining Chamber of Commerce, for instance, when it comes to data, it's so data-driven that you get almost to know which mining entity is trading, which one is not trading, where are they, and so forth. So it's not that straightforward in terms of looking at the contribution by various sectors in terms of either job creation or investment in capital or other variables, and deduce from there that from this industry, you're going to derive sufficient or more taxes as per that performance. But we have also in the past spoken out against sectors that we believe were not contributing sufficiently or were not contributing in accordance to what they've earned. And that is not confidential, and we do not hide behind the clause for that purpose.
Hi, Denver. My name is Hilda Basona Munjebo. I'd like to ask the Minister of Finance a question. And I just want to know how relevant the budget is in the context of today's census results. I guess that budget we prepared or tabled 2 weeks ago, that was for 2.7 million people. I may be wrong. But today the reality is that we are 3 million people. How will he adjust the budget to align with the needs of the 3 million people now instead of the 2.7?
Thank you so much, Madam. A last question. Thank you very much. Honourable Minister, we do know that the Statistician General is in the House. From my understanding, and the chairperson could correct us if we're not on the correct trajectory, is that these are preliminary results and the final results await us in October. But be that as it may, I think Madam Basona Munjebo has a very valid question.
Thank you very much, Madam Nanjebo. The budget it's really, designed to address the basic needs of Namibians, irrespective of the level of the population. So when we're saying we are investing in human capital, is that, the human capital should be based on the population growth as well. So it's not, the numbers did not change today. I believe we have known that, the number of students are going to be so many this year. Yeah. So and therefore, when you are budgeting, you budget in line with the numbers that are there. I think what we have had today is just a confirmation that the population is growing. So it will not change anything about the budget, and therefore it doesn't mean that we have now to go back and redesign the budget again. So it's, you know, and again, the budget is something that will change. At midterm, we will again review it. Next year, we'll again review it. And these statistics that, you know, that are being refreshed will be helpful in terms of coming up with a budget that is fit for purpose. So I don't think we should be too worried that you know, the numbers have now changed quite dramatically, and therefore we need to go back to the drawing board.
Artificial intelligence is increasingly playing an important role in the modern day world. Now, in Nigeria, AI is used to provide access to information to residents without internet. This report has been compiled by Reuters.
Nigerian resident David Diwa is using an artificial intelligence-powered mobile phone service to help him find a new career.
Sometimes I feel I should leave my carpentry job and start something else because of my weak eyesight. So I ask the AI questions about businesses, and they give me ideas on how to make it grow.
The service was launched in Nigeria last month by Canada-based Viamo and allows anyone, even in locations with no internet, to access AI technology. Viamo uses a traditional handset to tap into local mobile phone networks to send commands or requests for information through SMS or voice calls. It works like any other AI chatbot and can be used by illiterate people since it can be prompted by voice. And because it saves on data, it's also cheaper. Glory Akabu is Viamo's Nigeria Regional Platform Manager.
We understand that these people are disconnected because they are currently offline, do not have a mobile phone to access information, and also they do not have a smartphone that they can use to access information on the internet. Most of them, even when they have a smartphone, they are not able to purchase data that it can use to get connected to the internet.
Visually impaired Nigerian resident Kehinde Olatubo-san says the service has been uplifting. He says he used to ask people to use their smartphones to find answers to his questions.
Who are not that financially buoyant, they still have this opportunity to use even the little as 10 naira to ask a lot of questions that will actually benefit them. I'm so happy.
Viamo says the device is targeted to the world's poorest and most remote communities. It's supported by development agencies in the United States and the United Kingdom, among others, and has partnered with UNICEF to provide information on HIV, tropical diseases, nutrition, water, sanitation, and hygiene.
Let me finish you something.
Don't worry. Next time, I check nice.
Thanks, but it's okay. FNB Insurance checks nicer.
At FNB Insurance, we provide cover for all your valuables. From your phone, to your laptop, to your car. FNB Insurance. You value it, we cover it. T's and C's apply.
Thank you for joining us in the Business 7 studio this week. We'll see you again next week. We're playing out with an interesting story by Reuters, but about Namibia. And it's all about how sandboarding in Swakopmund is helping to fuel or rekindle tourism in the coastal town. Please take care until next week.
Sandboarding is making a comeback in Namibia. And that's after the global health crisis sent the southern African country's tourist numbers, previously around 1 million a year, tumbling. Now, tourists like media professional Aileen Yazan have been heading for the seaside town of Swakopmund, lying between the Atlantic Ocean and the 31,000 square mile Namib Desert.
It was my first time doing this body surf in the sand. I tried snowboarding before in Doha. It was not as much fun.
Sandboarding involves sliding down dunes on a board, either standing or lying down at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. It's an extreme sport set against miles of mesmerizing landscape. But for sandboarding guide Devin Waters, a longtime Swakopmund resident, it also offers an escape from life on the streets.
Because like we're working every day, so it keeps me off the streets, put bread on the table for me and my family. Like we get a lot of tourists, so if we work here, we get tips from the people if you give them a good service always.
Has been bolstered by a near doubling of cruise liners docking at the nearby Walvis Bay last year. The port town has also seen an increase in traffic from shippers diverting their cargoes away from the insecurity on the Red Sea and chronic congestion at ports in neighbouring South Africa.